A cooler pattern is here after a cold front sweep through about 2 days ago. We are expecting a few more cold fronts to sweep through with maybe a stronger one as we head into the first week of September, as soon as later next week, that will probably bring the potential for the first frost in a couple areas that further northeast to go. Again, we are expecting a widespread frost, being that it will be early September, but there may be a few areas that gets down into the mid to upper 30s that further north to go, especially when you get higher in the elevation areas, up into northeast Wisconsin or into the UP and Michigan. Either way, at least half the region will likely have pretty far below average temperatures at times, with lows potentially down to the 40s as far south as Iowa as well. So, yeah, a pretty cool pattern ahead, a pretty unusually cold pattern coming up over the next week or two, but especially in the first week of September. And I plan to get all the details out, I guess, in this video on the model guidance, the ensemble guidance, the upper air pattern, and what will be the main drivers of bringing this very cool pattern compared to this time of the year. Obviously, we're not talking about teens because it's not December yet, but it is signs that fall is almost here. Through the rest of the month, we will have a little bit of a slightly above average temperatures as we move through the rest of this upcoming week. I guess you know say with temperatures as far as about 5 degrees above average or so. This could be slightly overdone. I do think that we might be closer to average just because we will have these very cool nights, including tonight. Lows tonight could be as low as the upper 30s for portions of Wisconsin and the UP and Michigan as well. So I do think this might be a little bit overdone on the warm bias as well. But again, this is the European model overall. Now taking a look as we push into early September. This is the first week of September, and this is even a 5 day mean, and temperatures are as far as 10 degrees below average over a 5 day mean in the first week of September. Temperatures are still about slightly above average for northern plains areas as well, but a large area of below average temperatures is expected through the first week of September. With that time, its temperatures could be as cold as 10 to 15 degrees below average as well. Taking a look at each individual day, which this model has been trending quarter and quarter over the last few model runs or so, and I will look at the ensembles and other guidance as well because I don't tend to not try to have a cold bias on just what one model shows, but also a range of possible solutions as well. And this is taking a look at Wednesday and into Thursday, September 2nd to the 3rd. We see temperatures as far as 10 to 15 degrees below average in isolated areas in that 24-hour time frame as well. So again, temperatures about 10 degrees below average into the overnight hours, into daytime hours, would put lows in the 40s to low, we'll put lows into the upper 40s as far as these areas down to Illinois and Iowa. Then highs may only be in the upper 60s to low 70s, but highs can still get pretty warm this time of the year because we usually have a fast warming, I guess, days you want to say, this time of the year yet. But also, it doesn't help that we still have pretty late sunsets, I guess you want to say. It's not like it's in wintertime where the sun is out for only 8 hours, or 9, 10 hours or so. But as we push further into the first week of September, into the 3rd and 4th, we still see temperatures as far as 10 degrees below average, and quite a few areas of the region as well. The only areas that will be above average looks to be in the northern plains. So again, a pretty expansive cool, I guess we say cold air mass will be in place as we push into September. And it's pretty long lasting as well. As we push further into the first weekend of September, we will still see have temperatures as far as 5 to 10 degrees below average, especially for the southeast to go, with above average temperatures hanging around for the northern plains. But it even begins to start to go towards average to slightly below average for these areas as well, with more cold fronts potentially pushing through. So all these cold fronts the last couple of days of August, but especially the first week of September, being that we're getting into the fall now, well, I guess you're going to say, end of summer, these cold fronts will start to begin to get a little bit stronger, and we're going to get temperatures to be a bit colder, especially at night. You can easily get lows into the 40s as you move into September. If you have a strong enough cold front, and also if you have clear skies and light to no breeze in the overnight hours. Now, this is obviously, pretty far out, or week and a half out, but seeing signs of temperatures this far below average, if that verifies, would put lows as low as the mid 30s in some areas of the UP and northern Wisconsin, which would bring isolated first frost in them areas. So that's something to look out for early September. It's not very common, but it's not a record early first frost either for this area. So I mean, it's not. I mean, it's kind of rare, I want to say, but it's not record breaking or anything like that. So this ain't hyping anything up. I mean, as you move into September, the frost begins to get more widespread as you get deeper into September, but also obviously as you get into October. But lows, I mean, those will push down to the mid to upper 40s as well, as far south as eastern Iowa and eastern Minnesota, and as far south as northern Illinois as well, if these cold fronts are this strong. So now that is obviously not very common this time of the year, which is why temperatures will be about 10 to 15 degrees below average. So again, if you get that, you can get some pretty crispy lows, even for early September in quite a bit of the region. But as you get further west, though, when it's warmer, again, lows will be pretty warm, above average lows. Like I said earlier in the video, there's lows as warm as the low to mid 60s in the plains. Maybe as cold as the mid 50s for some areas, but again, a lot of 50s, upper 50s and 60s. And the plains still is moving early September because these cold fronts begin to hover around the Great Lakes. But then as we move further into the first week of September, this model wants to push out some cold fronts pushing in from the northern plains instead, which would obviously bring a pretty cool pattern for the northern plains as well as we move deeper into the first week of September. But again, this is pretty far out of this range. It is just possible scenarios at this time as we are in a pretty quiet pattern. Now, I want to show another model, GFS model, which can be a bit dramatic, just so you know, but it's not really that dramatic this time around. It does have a pretty cool pattern through the rest of August. This is probably the most reasonable solution than the European model for the rest of August, showing below average temperatures the further east you go into the Great Lakes region, with pretty far above average temperatures into the plains, as far as 10 degrees above average in them areas. As you move to September, I mean, it's not as cold as the European model, which is kind of surprising, honestly, but it has temperatures around average to slightly below average for the Great Lakes areas and portions of the upper Midwest as well, as you move deeper into there. As you move further into the end of the first week of September, this has very far above average temperatures ahead of a strong cold front. So the GFS usually tends to be a bit more dramatic. This is all happening because they have a trough in the Great Lakes in the northeast portions of the country. When you have a trough over here, a trough in the Gulf of Alaska, and you have quite a bit of ridging up in Canada, this allows for a peace. I guess you want to say the polar vortex area, but not really, obviously, this time of the year, to push outward into a few different areas. And one of these areas will be down into the Great Lakes region and northeast portions of the country. And that is what is bringing these pretty far below average temperatures for the Great Lakes, but not the plains, as there is some ridging for the plains, as you can see on this, a pretty stretched out ridge from Canada all the way down. And then, but this next trough that pushes into the northwest portions of the country as we move into early September as well, that is what will bring another round or two of below average temperatures into the Midwest as you get closer to the middle of September, because you have more cold fronts with this, pretty strong cold fronts with this as well. So again, the up year pattern is definitely favorable for pretty consistent rounds of below average temperatures as you push into September, which is definitely a different look than what they had a week or two ago. It looked like it was going to be a very warm September overall, but having this solution definitely would bring the potential for more below average temperatures than we earlier expected as well. As you push into the end of the first week of September, you still have that troughing sitting around over here, but you have a little bit of ridging sitting up the southwest portions of the country. This will bring still a pretty cool pattern of cold fronts over the upper Midwest and into northeast portions of the country, with probably more of an active pattern settling back in. It seems with more of this broad flow overhead. So that will be it for this video. In the next one, I do plan to talk about if the fall will be warm or not. So that will be the next video. Also, if you want to order any merch, go to my Facebook page. It is a pinned post. I have the merch website on there. The merch is very cheap. The shirts is only like $20 a shirt. So if you want to order any merch, then please do that.